I thought I was the only one. She told me I was her forever, but forever had a price tag, and I wasn't the only one paying it. I still have the messages, the same words, sent to 10 different men. I just didn't know I was in a lineup. The bamboo raft swayed gently beneath us as Felina's fingers traced circles on my weathered hand. El Nido stretched around us like a postcard nobody would believe back in Winnipeg. Crystal water, limestone cliffs that looked carved by angels, and her, 26 years old, coffee-colored skin glowing in the afternoon sun, telling me things I'd waited 58 years to hear. "Roland, you know what I was thinking?" she whispered, her accent making my name sound like music. "Since I was a little girl, I dreamed of a man who would look at me the way you do. Not like I'm just pretty, like I'm precious." My chest tightened. After the divorce, after Linda took half of everything and told the judge I was emotionally unavailable, I thought I was done. Done with love. Done with hope. Done with believing any woman could see past my gray hair and expanding gut to find something worth keeping. "What way is that?" I asked, though I was afraid to hear the answer, afraid it might shatter whatever spell we were under. She leaned closer, her breath warm against my ear. "Like I'm your miracle. Like you can't believe God let you find me." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Because that's how I feel about you, my love. Like I prayed for you. And somehow, across all these islands, all these oceans, you heard me. I felt something break open in my chest. Not break apart, break open. Like a dam that had held back 20 years of loneliness finally giving way to something that felt like sunlight. You did pray for me," I said, pulling her closer on the narrow raft. "Because here I am." She smiled and pressed her forehead against mine. "My friends back in Angeles City, they don't understand. They say, 'Felina, why do you love this old Canadian, man?' But they don't see what I see. They don't know how gentle your hands are, how you listen when I talk about my dreams, how you make me feel safe." Safe. The word hit me like a physical thing. When was the last time anyone had called me safe? Linda used to call me distant, detached, a good provider but a lousy husband. My own daughter Sandy barely called unless she needed money. But here was this beautiful woman, young enough to be my daughter, calling me safe like it was the most precious thing in the world. "What dreams?" I asked. "Tell me everything you dream about." Her eyes lit up. "I dream about us having a little house somewhere quiet. Maybe here in the Philippines, maybe in Canada. I don't care where. I just dream about making you breakfast every morning, about growing old with someone who chose me, really chose me. Not because I was convenient or available, but because—" She paused, searching for words. "Because you looked at me and thought, 'This is her. This is the one I want to love forever.' Forever." The word hung between us like a promise I was desperate to make. The sun was setting behind those impossible cliffs, painting everything gold and orange, and I thought, this is what happiness feels like. This is what I was missing all those years. "Felina," I said, my voice rougher than I intended. "I need you to know something. I'm not good with words. I'm not romantic like the guys in movies. I'm just a man who spent 30 years plowing snow in Winnipeg and thinking that was enough. But sitting here with you, I feel like I'm finally awake. Like I've been sleepwalking through my whole life until now." She kissed my knuckles one by one. "You don't need to be romantic, Roland. You just need to be you. The you that flew halfway around the world to meet me. The you that sees me as more than just another pretty Filipina girl looking for a foreign husband." That phrase made me wince. I'd heard it before, from other expats in the hotel bar. The warnings, the knowing looks, the stories about bar girls and green cards and heartbreak. But looking at Felina's face in the dying light, I knew they were wrong. This wasn't about money or visas or any of that cynical bullshit. This was about two people who'd found each other against impossible odds. "I do see more," I whispered. "I see everything." The raft bumped gently against the shore, and our guide called out that it was time to head back. But I didn't want to move. I wanted to stay in that moment forever, with her hand in mine and the whole world painted gold around us. I wanted to believe that sometimes, if you wait long enough and hurt long enough, the universe finally decides to be kind. As we walked back up the beach, Filipina slipped her arm through mine and said, "Roland, thank you for making me believe in fairy tales again." I squeezed her hand and thought, "Lady, you just made me believe in everything." 6 months earlier, I was sitting in my empty house on Portage Avenue, watching snow pile up against the windows and wondering what the hell I was supposed to do with the rest of my life. I just sold Henderson Snow Removal after 32 years of getting up at 3 a.m. to push powder around Winnipeg's endless streets. The buyout was decent. The silence was killing me. Linda had been gone 2 years by then, but the house still felt like a crime scene. Her coffee cups were gone from the sink. Her romance novels were gone from the nightstand. Her entire existence had been surgically removed, leaving behind spaces that echoed with everything we'd never said to each other. That's when I found the dating site, not the fancy one Sandy had suggested, just a simple international site that promised genuine connections with women seeking serious relationships. I figured, what the hell? I was 58, financially stable, and tired of talking to my reflection in the bathroom mirror every morning. Her profile was different from the others. No bikini shots, no pouty selfies. Just a simple photo of her in what looked like a restaurant uniform, smiling like she meant it. Her bio was 3 sentences. "My name is Filipina. I work hard to support my family. I believe in honest love and simple dreams." Simple dreams. Something about that phrase made me click message. "Hi, Filipina. My name is Roland. I'm from Canada. I read your profile and I think you seem like a genuine person. Would you like to chat?" Her response came 12 hours later, probably because of the time difference. "Hello, Roland. Yes, I would like to chat, but I should tell you, I am not very good with English writing. I hope you don't mind." We started slowly. Messages about our days, our work, our families. She told me about her job at a small restaurant in Angeles City, how she sent half her wages to her mother in the provinces, how she dreamed of finishing nursing school someday but couldn't afford the fees. I told her about the snow removal business, about Linda leaving, about feeling like I'd spent 30 years on autopilot. The video call started a month later. That's when everything changed. Seeing her face, hearing her laugh, watching the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking about how to say something in English. She was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. She listened. When I told her about my father dying when I was 12, about having to grow up too fast, she got tears in her eyes. "You must have been so scared," she said, her voice soft through the computer speakers. A little boy trying to be a man. Nobody had ever said that to me before. Not Linda, not anyone. But this woman, 7,000 miles away, saw something in my story that I'd never seen myself. She saw the scared kid underneath the gruff exterior. The calls became daily, then twice daily. She'd message me from work during her breaks, sending photos of the sunset over Clark Air Base, asking about my day, telling me stories about her regular customers. Old Korean war vets who came in for breakfast and called her sweetie. Young soldiers on leave who tipped too much and tried to get her phone number. She always deflected the soldiers' advances politely. "I'm waiting for someone special," she'd tell them. Then she'd tell me, "Someone like you, Roland." 3 months in, I knew I was falling. The rational part of my brain, the part that had survived a bad marriage and 30 years of Canadian winters, kept throwing up warnings. The age gap, the distance. The stories I'd heard about Filipino women and desperate Western men, but every time I saw her face on that screen, every time she asked about my day like it actually mattered, the warnings got quieter. "Roland," she said one evening, her face serious in the laptop glow, "I need to tell you something. I have been hurt before, by a man who promised me things and then disappeared. I don't want to be hurt again, but I also don't want to be afraid forever. Do you understand?" I understood. I'd been hurt too, different kind of hurt, but it left the same scars. "What are you saying, Filipina?" I'm saying, if you visit me here, if you come all this way, it means something. It means we're serious. I don't play games with men's hearts. I hope you don't play games with mine. That's when I knew I was going. Not just thinking about it. Not just maybe someday. I was booking a ticket to Manila and praying that this beautiful, honest woman was everything she seemed to be. I don't play games, I told her. When I come there, and I am coming there, it won't be for a vacation. It'll be because I think you might be the person I've been looking for my whole life. Her smile could have powered Angela's city for a week. Then come soon, my love. I'll be waiting. 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to Manila, my stomach churning with equal parts excitement and terror. I kept thinking about that phrase from her profile, simple dreams. Maybe that's all I needed. Maybe after years of complicated heartbreak, simple was exactly what would save me. The money started flowing before I even realized it was happening. I'd been back in Winnipeg for a month, and Filipina called me crying. Her voice was thick with tears, barely understandable through the phone connection. Roland, I'm so sorry to bother you with this. I know you just got home. I know you spent so much money to visit me. But my mother, there was a typhoon. Part of our house collapsed. The roof, the kitchen wall. My mother has nowhere to cook, nowhere to stay dry when it rains. My chest tightened. I could picture her mother, the tiny woman who'd served me lumpia and treated me like family during my visit. She'd held my hands and called me son in broken English. Tears in her eyes, like she couldn't believe her daughter had found someone who'd travel so far just to meet her. How much? I asked. How much do you need to fix it? No, Roland. I can't ask you for money. That's not why I called. I just needed someone to talk to. Someone who cares about me. But I was already doing math in my head. The snow removal business had left me comfortable. Not rich, but comfortable enough to help the woman I loved and her family. Filipina, listen to me. How much to fix the house properly? Not just patch it up. Fix it right. Roland, please. How much? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, in a voice so small I almost missed it, the contractor said $4,000. American dollars. But Roland, that's so much money. I could never. I'm wiring it tomorrow. What? No. I can't accept. It's done. Give me your bank information. The money will be there by Wednesday. She cried for 10 minutes. Kept saying thank you and I don't deserve this and I'll pay you back somehow. I told her she didn't need to pay me back. I told her that taking care of her family was the same as taking care of her, and taking care of her was something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. The next call came 6 weeks later. This time she was excited, not crying. Roland, I have the most amazing news. There's a nursing program at the community college. Only 18 months, and I could be a registered nurse. The pay would be so much better. I could help my family more, save money for us, for our future. That's incredible, Filipina. When does it start? Next month. But, her voice deflated, the enrollment fee is $2,000, plus books and uniforms. I tried to get a loan, but without collateral. I didn't even hesitate. I'll send it today. Roland, no. You just helped with the house. I can't keep taking your money. You're not taking it. I'm investing in our future. A future where the woman I love has a career she's passionate about, where she can take care of herself and her family, where we can build something together. That's when the house talk started. Real house talk. Not just someday we'll have a place fantasy, but actual planning. She sent me sketches she'd drawn on napkins at work, simple floor plans, a 2-bedroom bungalow with a covered porch and a garden in the back. Look, Roland, she said during one of our video calls, holding up a detailed drawing. I imagined our bedroom here, facing the sunrise. And here's your office, where you can work on your computer or read your books. And this porch, this is where we'll sit every evening with our coffee, watching the sunset. She pointed to two small circles she'd drawn on the porch. These are our chairs. And see these tiny squares? Those are our slippers. Yours and mine. Every night, we'll take them off and line them up together before we go inside. My throat closed up looking at those little squares. Such a small detail, but it hit me like a sledgehammer. The idea that someone was planning a life that included my slippers. That someone was drawing pictures of a future where I belonged. Where would we build it? I asked. I found a perfect lot about 20 minutes from Angeles City. Quiet, but not too remote. Close enough to the city for work, far enough away for peace. The owner wants to sell. $25,000 for the land, maybe another $30,000 for construction if we keep it simple. $55,000. The number hung in the air between us. In Winnipeg terms, it was a decent used car. In Philippines terms, it was a life. Send me the details, I said. Pictures of the lot. Contact information for the seller. Roland, are you serious? You would really do this? Build a house with me? Filipina, I'm 58 years old. I've been married once, badly. I've worked my whole life for money that doesn't mean much if I can't share it with someone I love. If you want to build a house with me, if you want those slippers on that porch, then yes, I'm serious, dead serious. She cried again, but happy tears this time. I love you so much, Roland. I know the age difference scares people. I know they think I'm just using you, but they don't. See what I see. They don't know how you make me feel safe, how you listen to my dreams like they're important. They are important. You're important. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those sketches, those tiny slipper squares. For the first time since Linda left, I could picture a future that wasn't just endless days of solitude. I could see morning coffee with someone who wanted me there, evening conversations with someone who cared what I thought, a bedroom with 2 pillows instead of 1. Maybe that's what love actually was, not butterflies or passion or any of the movie bullshit. Just 2 people deciding that their slippers belonged side by side on the same porch, facing the same sunset, for whatever time they had left. I fell asleep that night, planning our house, room by room, detail by detail, planning our life. It was a lazy Sunday morning when everything started to crack. I was drinking coffee and scrolling through Facebook, something I rarely did, but boredom makes you do stupid things. I clicked on Filipina's profile just to see if she'd posted any new photos, maybe something I could comment on to make her smile. Most of her posts were simple. Pictures of food from the restaurant where she worked, sunset shots from Angeles City, occasional selfies with friends, nothing that raised any red flags. But then I saw one from about 3 months ago, before we'd started talking seriously. A photo of her at some kind of festival, wearing a traditional Filipino dress, smiling at the camera. The comments were mostly in Tagalog, which I couldn't read. A few in English from friends saying she looked beautiful. Normal stuff. But one comment made my chest tighten. Gorgeous as always, baby. Miss you. It was from a guy named Rick. Profile said he was from Dallas, Texas. Looked to be about my age. Maybe a little younger. The comment had a heart emoji. And it was posted just 2 weeks ago. Not 3 months when the photo went up. As I watched, the comment disappeared. I refreshed the page. Gone. Like it had never existed. My coffee suddenly tasted like acid. I told myself I was being paranoid. Old divorced guy seeing threats where none existed. But something in my gut twisted like a knife. An hour later, Filipina called for our regular Sunday video chat. She seemed normal, happy. Asked about my week, told me about hers. But when I mentioned seeing her Facebook photos, she got a little tense. Which photos, my love? The one from the festival. The dress was beautiful. Oh, that old thing. I just found it on my phone and posted it. Nothing special. There was a comment from some guy named Rick, from Texas, I think. But it disappeared while I was looking at it. Her smile faltered for just a second, just a flicker, but I caught it. Rick. Oh yes, he was a customer at my old job. Before I met you. Some of these American men, they think if they eat at the restaurant a few times, they can be friends with all the girls. I had to delete his comment because it was inappropriate. Inappropriate how? Just, flirty. Like he thought we were close when we're not. I don't want you to see things like that and get the wrong idea. I only want you, Roland. Only you. I wanted to believe her. Desperately wanted to believe her. But that comment hadn't been flirty. It had been familiar. Miss you wasn't something you said to a waitress you'd met a few times. It was something you said to someone who mattered. Felina, how well did you know this guy? She got defensive quickly. Too quickly. Why are you asking me this? You don't trust me? After everything we've shared, everything we've planned, you're going to be jealous of some random customer? I'm not jealous. I'm just trying to understand. Understand what? That I had a life before you? That I met people before you? Roland, I thought you were different from other Western men. I thought you wouldn't be possessive and suspicious. The conversation spiraled from there. She accused me of not trusting her. I accused her of being evasive. We both said things we didn't mean. Finally, she hung up saying she needed time to think about whether this relationship was healthy. I spent the rest of the day staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation we'd had, every video call, every message. Was I being paranoid? Was I letting my past with Linda poison something good? Or was my gut trying to tell me something important? Monday morning, Felina called to apologize. She was crying, saying she'd overreacted, that she was just scared of losing me. Roland, I'm sorry. You have every right to ask questions. I've been hurt before. When men start questioning every little thing, it usually means they're looking for reasons to leave. I don't want you to leave. Her vulnerability melted my anger. This was the woman I'd fallen in love with. Open, honest, afraid of being abandoned, just like me. I'm not going anywhere, I told her. I just want us to be honest with each other. Complete honesty. Can we do that? Yes, of course. Complete honesty. But even as I said the words, even as she agreed, something in the back of my mind kept nagging. That comment. The way it disappeared so quickly. The look on her face when I mentioned it. I told myself I was overthinking. Love required trust. Trust required faith. And faith meant choosing to believe someone even when doubt crept in. I chose to believe her. I chose to trust. Looking back now, I realized that was the moment I started lying to myself. Not about her, about what I already knew but wasn't ready to admit. My gut had been trying to warn me, but I was too invested in the dream to listen. The dream house, the slippers on the porch, the future I'd mapped out in my head. I wanted it so badly that I was willing to ignore every red flag, every inconsistency, every moment when her story didn't quite add up. Love makes you stupid. But hope? Hope makes you blind. 3 weeks later, Felina came to visit me in Winnipeg. I'd paid for her ticket, covered all the visa paperwork, turned my spare bedroom into something that looked like a real woman lived there. For 10 days, she was going to be in my house, in my life, in my bed. It felt like the trial run for forever. The first few days were everything I dreamed. She cooked breakfast every morning. These elaborate Filipino dishes that made my kitchen smell like paradise. She watched me work in the garden, asking questions about the vegetables I was growing, making plans for the garden we'd have at our house. She curled up against me on the couch every night, fitting perfectly into the curve of my arm like she'd been designed to be there. On day 4, she asked to borrow my tablet to video chat with her mother. Her phone didn't have enough data for long calls, and she wanted to show her mom around my house, prove that her daughter was safe and loved in Canada. Of course, I said, handing over the iPad. The Wi-Fi password is Henderson2023 if you need it. She took the tablet into the bedroom for privacy, and I went to make lunch. I could hear her talking in Tagalog, laughing, sounding happy. The sounds of home and family and love, everything I'd been missing for 2 years. An hour later, she came out looking emotional. My mother says she's proud of me. She says you seem like a good man, and she's grateful you're taking care of me. Felina wiped her eyes. She also says she's praying for us every day, that God will bless our love. That night, we made love for the first time. Not just sex, love. The kind where you look into someone's eyes and think, this is it. This is the person. She fell asleep with her head on my chest, and I lay there listening to her breathe, thinking I was the luckiest man in Canada. The next morning, she was still sleeping when I needed to check my email for some banking stuff. I grabbed the tablet from the nightstand, trying not to wake her. That's when I saw the notification. Gmail. But not my Gmail account. Hers. She must have logged in yesterday and forgotten to log out. The notification was from PayPal. Payment received. $500 USD. I should have closed it. Should have woken her up and told her she had mail. Should have minded my own fucking business. Instead, I tapped the notification. Her Gmail account opened, and I saw the most recent emails, PayPal notifications, Western Union confirmations, and then, buried between the financial messages, something that made my blood freeze. A group email thread. Subject line, Updates, March 2024. The participants list made me sick. Filipina Santos, Rick Martinez, Dallas, James Wilson, Sydney, David Mueller, Frankfurt, Germany, Robert Chen, Vancouver, BC, Michael Torres, Phoenix, AZ, Charles Kim Seoul, South Korea, Stephen Blake, Manchester, Paul Roberts, Auckland, New Zealand, Gary Thompson, Houston, TX, and one more, Roland Henderson, Winnipeg, MB, 11 people total, 10 men and Filipina. With shaking hands, I opened the thread. The most recent message was from Filipina, sent 3 days ago. Hello, my loves. Quick update. I'm in Canada with Roland until next week. He's been so generous with the house project. We're almost at our goal. Rick, thank you for the extra $500 yesterday. You're so thoughtful. David, did you get my photos from the festival? James, I'm sorry I missed our call. The time difference is killing me, but I'll try to catch you tomorrow. Love and kisses to all my special men. F. I scrolled up. Days of messages, weeks, months. Filipina to Rick. I dream about you every night, baby. You're the only one who really understands my heart. Filipina to James. I can't wait until you visit again. Australia seems so far away, but love makes everything possible, doesn't it? Filipina to David. The house fund is growing. Soon we'll have our little place where we can be together forever. Filipina to Robert. You're my Canadian dream, Robert. My heart belongs in Vancouver with you. And then I found my own messages, the same words, the exact same fucking words she'd said to me. Roland, you're the man I dreamed of since I was a little girl. She'd sent that identical line to 6 different men, the house sketches, the slipper drawings, the sunrise bedroom and the sunset porch. She'd sent them to everyone, customized slightly, but the same basic plan, the same dream, the same con. I sat there for 20 minutes, reading message after message, watching my entire relationship dissolve into recycled lies. The nursing school story, the typhoon damage, her mother's medical bills. Different details, but she'd told variations to everyone. Rick had sent money for her grandmother's surgery. James had paid for computer classes. David had covered car repairs. We were all funding the same dream house. We were all getting the same love letters. We were all planning the same future with the same woman who probably didn't exist. I closed the tablet and walked to the bathroom, where I threw up everything I'd eaten for the past month. When I came back, Filipina was awake, stretching in bed, smiling at me like nothing had changed. Good morning, my love. Did you sleep well? I looked at her face, the same face that had told me I was special, the same eyes that had cried grateful tears when I sent money, the same mouth that had whispered, Only you, while she was apparently whispering the same thing to 9 other men. Filipina, I said, my voice coming out like gravel. We need to talk. Her smile faltered. She glanced at the tablet in my hands, and in that moment, I watched the woman I thought I loved disappear completely. The mask slipped, just for a second, and underneath was someone I'd never met. Someone cold and calculating and completely, utterly empty. Roland, she said carefully, what's wrong? But she already knew. I could see it in her eyes. The game was over. It's not what you think. Those were the first words out of her mouth when I confronted her. Not, I can explain, or I'm sorry, or even, how did you find out? Just a flat denial that what I'd seen with my own eyes was real. I showed her the tablet, the group chat still open on the screen. Then what is it, Filipina? Because what I think is that you're running the same con on 10 different men. What I think is that everything between us has been a lie. She started crying immediately. Not the gentle tears I'd seen before, but harsh, desperate sobs that shook her whole body. No, Roland. No, you don't understand. Those men, they don't mean anything to me. They're from before I met you. Before I knew what real love was. Filipina, there are messages from 3 days ago, while you've been here, in my house, in my bed. I was trying to let them down gently. You don't understand how these men can be. If you just stop talking to them, they get angry. They threaten to call immigration, or they try to find you. I was protecting us. I wanted to believe her. God help me. Even with the evidence right in front of me, I wanted to believe her, because the alternative was admitting that the last 8 months of my life had been a fantasy, that the woman I'd fallen in love with was a character she'd created, that I was just another lonely fool who'd confused desperation with love. What about the money, Filipina? The house fund? The nursing school? Your mother's medical bills? She crawled across the bed toward me, reaching for my hands. I pulled away. Roland, please, let me explain everything. Yes, I took money from them, but not for me, for survival. Do you know how hard it is to live in the Philippines? How little we make at the restaurant? These rich Western men, they throw money around like it's nothing. They want to feel like heroes, like saviors. So I let them help. But it was never real with them, never like what we have. You sent the same love letters to everyone because they expect to hear certain things. It's like a script. You tell them what they want to hear so they keep helping. But with you, Roland, it's different. What I feel for you is real. The house we're planning, that's real. Our future together, that's real. I sat down on the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted. How is it real if you're saying the same things to 9 other men? How is it real if you're taking money from all of us for the same fake emergencies? Because she was struggling now, scrambling for words that would make sense. Because you're the one I chose. Out of all of them, you're the one I actually want to be with. The others are they're just business. You're my heart. Business. She'd called it business. Like these men's hearts were commodities she could trade. What about Rick in Dallas? Are you planning to build a house with him too? No, Rick is nothing. He helps sometimes when I need something small, but he knows it's not serious. And James in Australia? He's married, Roland. He just wants someone to talk to, someone who makes him feel young again. It's harmless. And David in Germany? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, David thinks we might have a future together. But I was going to tell him about you soon. I was going to break it off with all of them. When were you going to do that? After you and I make it official. After you propose. After I know for sure that you're committed to me. The words hit me like a physical blow. She was waiting for me to propose before she'd stop scamming other men. Our love was conditional on me proving my commitment, while she kept her options open. Jesus Christ, Filipina, do you hear yourself? You're talking about our relationship like it's a business merger. That's not what I mean. I love you, Roland. I love you more than I've ever loved anyone. But I've been hurt before. I've had men promise me everything and then disappear. I can't afford to put all my trust in one person until I know they won't abandon me. I looked at her sitting there in my bedroom, wearing the nightgown I'd bought for her, surrounded by the life I'd built for her in my head. She was still beautiful, still the woman whose photo had made me believe in second chances. But she was also a stranger, someone who could compartmentalize love and deception so completely that she genuinely seemed to believe her own lies. What if I had never found out? I asked. What if you'd married me? Would you have kept taking money from the others? No. Once we were married, once I was safe, I would have ended everything with them. I swear to you, Roland, you have to believe me. But I didn't believe her, couldn't believe her, because I'd seen the messages, seen how easily she shifted between personas, how naturally she played to each man's specific needs and fantasies. Rick got the sexy bad girl, James got the devoted housewife, David got the intellectual equal, I got the grateful, humble girl who just needed someone to take care of her. We were all getting exactly what we thought we wanted, which meant none of us were getting anything real. I spent the rest of her visit in a strange kind of limbo. Part of me wanted to throw her out immediately, change the locks, and never speak to her again. But another part, the part that had invested so much hope in our future, kept trying to find ways to make her story work. Maybe she was telling the truth about wanting to end things with the others. Maybe I really was special, just caught up in something she'd started before she met me. Maybe love was complicated and messy, and I was being too rigid, too black and white. She was trying to, in her way. Extra affectionate, extra attentive, cooking my favorite meals, wearing the clothes I'd complimented, asking about my day like it was the most important thing in the world. All the things that had made me fall for her in the first place. But it felt hollow now, performed, like she was running the same script she'd perfected on the others. On her last night in Winnipeg, we lay in bed not touching, both pretending to sleep. Roland, she whispered in the dark, I know I hurt you. I know I broke your trust. But I need you to know that what I feel for you is real. Maybe it started like the others. Maybe I was just looking for someone to help me. But somewhere along the way, it became real. You became real. I stared at the ceiling in the darkness. How am I supposed to tell the difference, Filipina? How do I know when you're being real and when you're running a script? Because I'm here, she said, in your bed, in your house. I flew halfway around the world to be with you. That has to mean something. You flew here on my dime, with money I sent you. Money you asked for using the same sob stories you told the other guys. Roland, please, don't let this destroy us. We can fix this. I'll cut contact with all of them tomorrow. I'll prove to you that you're the only one who matters. I wanted to believe her. Even then, even knowing what I knew, some pathetic part of me wanted to believe that love could conquer manipulation, that sincerity could overcome deception, that maybe, just maybe, she really had fallen for me somewhere in the middle of her con. But trust, once broken, doesn't heal just because you want it to. And I was finally starting to understand that I'd fallen in love with a performance, not a person. We'll see, I said. It was the best I could do. The next morning, I drove her to the airport in silence. At the departure gate, she cried and held me and promised to call as soon as she landed. Promised to send proof that she was ending things with the others. Promised to be the woman I thought I'd fallen in love with. I watched her walk through security, and for a moment, I almost ran after her. Almost decided that love was worth the risk, that maybe broken trust could be rebuilt, that maybe I was throwing away the best thing that had ever happened to me. Instead, I drove home to my empty house and sat in my empty kitchen, surrounded by the lingering smell of her cooking and the ghost of a future that had never been real. I gave her 2 weeks. 2 weeks to prove that she was serious about choosing me over the others. 2 weeks to show me that everything she'd said in my bedroom that last night was true. The first few days, she tried. Daily video calls where she showed me screenshots of messages she'd allegedly sent to the other men, breaking things off. "It's over between us," she'd supposedly told Rick. "I found real love." Similar messages to James, David, Robert, and the others. "Clean breaks," she called them. But something felt off. The screenshots looked staged. The responses from the men were too accepting, too understanding. When someone you think you're in love with suddenly dumps you for another guy, you don't usually respond with, "I understand, be happy." You get angry. You demand explanations. You fight for what you think is yours. These men were just gone, like they'd never existed. On day 5, I made a decision that probably saved my sanity. I hired a private investigator in the Philippines, not to spy on Filipina, but to verify her story, to confirm that she was really ending things with the others, that her family situation was real, that the woman I'd fallen for had any basis in reality. The PI's name was Carlos Santos, no relation to Filipina despite the shared surname. Former Manila police detective turned private investigator, specializing in romance scams and catfish investigations. He'd worked dozens of cases like mine. Lonely Western men, beautiful young Filipino women, and money flowing in one direction. "Mr. Henderson," Carlos told me during our first phone call, "I want to be straight with you from the beginning. In 30 years of police work and 10 years as a private investigator, I've seen maybe 3 cases where the woman was actually sincere. 3 out of hundreds. I'm not saying your lady is definitely running a scam, but the odds are not in your favor. I just need to know the truth," I said. "Whatever it is. The truth is expensive, Mr. Henderson, and it usually hurts. Are you prepared for both?" I was prepared for neither, but I paid his retainer anyway. Carlos's first report arrived a week later. Photos of Filipina entering and leaving an internet cafe in Angeles City, where she spent 3 to 4 hours every day on video calls with various foreign men. Bank records showing regular deposits from multiple Western Union accounts. Property records showing she didn't own any land, had never inquired about purchasing any land, and had never been involved in any house construction projects. The nursing school story was partially true. She had applied and been accepted. But she'd never paid the enrollment fee, never attended classes, and wasn't currently a student anywhere. Her mother's house had never been damaged by a typhoon. It was a simple, concrete block structure in decent repair, occupied by her mother, her sister, and her sister's 3 children. No evidence of recent construction or repairs. But the worst discovery was in Carlos's second report. Photos of Filipina with 3 different Western men over the past 6 months. Intimate photos, holding hands, kissing, shopping together like couples. One was Rick from Dallas, who'd visited in January. Another was James from Australia, who'd been there in March. The third was a man I didn't recognize from the group chat, suggesting there were even more men in her rotation than I'd discovered. In one photo, she was wearing the same dress she'd worn for our dinner in El Nido. The same dress where she'd told me I was her dream come true. She was wearing it with Rick, smiling at him the same way she'd smiled at me, holding his hand the same way she'd held mine. I stared at that photo for an hour, trying to process what I was seeing. It wasn't just the deception anymore. It was the complete lack of uniqueness. Every moment I'd thought was special, every gesture I'd thought was just for me, had been mass-produced and distributed to multiple customers. That night, I called Filipina for what I knew would be our last conversation. "Roland, I was just about to call you. I have such good news. I officially withdrew from all contact with the other men. We're free to build our future together now." "Filipina," I said, "I know about Rick's visit in January. I know about James in March. I know about the internet cafe and the bank deposits and the fact that your mother's house was never damaged." Silence. Long, heavy silence. "I don't know what you're talking about," she finally said, but her voice had changed. The warmth was gone. The accent seemed different. Even her tone was flatter, more businesslike. I hired an investigator, Felina. I have photos, bank records, everything. More silence. Then, you hired someone to spy on me? After everything we shared? After I opened my heart to you? After you lied to me about everything? After you played the same romance movie with 10 different men? Roland, you don't understand the situation here. You don't understand what it's like to be poor, to have no options, to stop. My voice came out harder than I'd intended. Just stop. No more stories. No more excuses. It's over. What do you mean it's over? I mean I'm done. I'm canceling the house project. I'm closing the joint account. I'm ending whatever this was between us. You can't do that. Now she sounded panicked. The mask was slipping completely. Roland, you made commitments. You promised to take care of me. You can't just abandon me because you're jealous of my past. Your past? Felina, James was there last month, while you were telling me I was the only one, while you were planning our future together. That meant nothing. He means nothing. You're the one I love. No, I said. I'm the one you're losing. There's a difference. I hung up and immediately began making calls. To my bank, to cancel our joint account and stop any pending transfers. To Western Union, to put a fraud alert on my account. To the land broker in the Philippines, to cancel the property purchase. She called back 17 times that night. I didn't answer. She sent dozens of text messages, ranging from desperate pleas to angry accusations to threats of suicide. I didn't respond. The next morning, I changed my phone number, closed my Facebook account, created new email addresses. I was burning down every bridge between my old life and whatever came next. Within 48 hours, Felina had stopped trying to contact me. No final love letter. No last-ditch effort to save our relationship. She just disappeared, which told me everything I needed to know about how much I'd actually meant to her. When the money stopped flowing, so did the love. 3 weeks after cutting contact with Felina, I did something that felt both necessary and masochistic. I reached out to the other men from the group chat. I needed to know if I was the only one who'd discovered the truth, or if she was still running her game on the others. I started with Rick in Dallas, since I'd seen the photos of him with her. Finding his contact information wasn't hard. People put way too much personal information on social media. I sent him a simple message through Facebook Messenger. Hi Rick, my name is Roland Henderson. I believe we both know Felina Santos from the Philippines. I think we need to talk. His response came within an hour. Holy shit. You found out too? We talked for 2 hours that first night. Rick was 62, recently widowed, lonelier than he'd ever been in his life. He'd met Felina on the same dating site I had, just 3 months earlier. She'd told him her father had died in a motorcycle accident and she needed money for the funeral. He'd sent $800 without question. She had this way of making you feel like you were rescuing her, Rick told me over the phone, his Texas drawl thick with embarrassment. Like you were the hero she'd been waiting for her whole life. Man, I felt like Superman when I sent that money. The funeral story was new to me. She'd never mentioned her father dying. In my version, her father had abandoned the family when she was young, which was why she needed a strong, reliable man to take care of her. Different trauma, same result. When did you figure it out? I asked. About a week ago. I was planning to visit her again next month, so I asked her to send me some current photos. She sent me the same damn pictures she'd sent 6 months ago. When I called her on it, she said her phone was broken and those were the only photos she had access to. But then I reverse searched one of the images and found it on some modeling website. Stock photo. Not even her. We compared notes like forensic investigators. The nursing school story. She told Rick she wanted to be a teacher. The family emergency money his was for her grandmother's surgery. Mine was for typhoon damage. The house dreams, she'd drawn him the same floor plan, but claimed it was in Cebu instead of near Angeles City. But the most damaging comparison was the love letters. Rick read me some of the messages she'd sent him, and they were identical to mine, word for word. The same "I dreamed of you since I was a little girl" line. The same "you make me feel safe" declaration. The same promises about slippers on the porch and growing old together. "It's like she had a script," Rick said. "A fucking manual for lonely old men." "Have you talked to any of the others?" I asked. "I reached out to James in Australia yesterday. Same story. Same lies. He sent her $3,000 for some made-up medical emergency. We're thinking about creating a group chat of our own. The Filipina Santos Survivors Club." Within a week, we'd contacted 7 of the 10 men from the original group. Every single one had the same story: identical love letters, customized sob stories, and financial requests that escalated over time. The amounts varied based on what she thought each man could afford, but the pattern was always the same. James from Australia had sent the most, nearly $12,000 over 8 months. He'd been planning to move to the Philippines and marry her. Had already started the visa paperwork for her to eventually move to Sydney as his wife. David from Germany had been the most recent victim. She'd only been working him for 2 months, but he'd already sent $4,000 and was planning a visit. When we told him what we'd discovered, he went silent for a long time, then said, "I am 67 years old. I thought I had found my last love. This is very difficult to accept." The hardest conversation was with Michael from Phoenix. He was 71, living alone since his wife died of cancer 3 years earlier. Filipina had told him she was taking care of her dying mother, and he'd connected with that story in a way that made him incredibly generous. He'd sent over $8,000 and had been planning to buy her a house in the Philippines where they could retire together. She knew exactly what to say, Michael told us during one of our group calls. She knew I missed taking care of someone. She knew I felt useless since Mary died. She made me feel needed again. That was Filipina's real skill. Not just lying, but reading people. Figuring out exactly what emotional hole needed filling, then positioning herself as the perfect solution. She'd identified Rick's need to be a hero, James's desire for a devoted wife, David's intellectual loneliness, Michael's caretaker instincts, and my own desperate hunger for someone who would choose me. We'd all thought we were special. We'd all thought we'd found someone who understood us in ways no one else ever had. We'd all been wrong in exactly the same way. "How much do you think we sent her in total?" Rick asked during one of our calls. We did the math. Between the 7 of us who were comparing notes, Filipina had collected just over $47,000 in 8 months. If the other 3 men in the group chat had similar experiences, and if there were men beyond our group that we didn't know about, she could have been pulling in $80,000 to $100,000 per year, more than most people make at legitimate jobs. Certainly more than a waitress in Angeles City could ever hope to earn. "She's a professional," James said. "This isn't some desperate girl trying to survive. This is a business. We're not victims of romance. We're victims of fraud." But even knowing that, even understanding the scope of her operation, part of me still missed her. Missed the woman I'd thought she was. Missed the future I'd planned with someone who had never existed. Does anyone else feel like they're grieving? I asked the group during one of our calls. "Every day?" David said. "I am grieving for the woman I thought I loved, but she was never real. So what am I grieving for? A ghost? A fantasy?" "You're grieving for hope," Michael said quietly. "We all are. She didn't just steal our money. She stole our hope that we could find love again. That someone could want us for who we are, not what we have." That hit me like a punch to the chest. Because that's exactly what she'd stolen from me. Not just the money, though that hurt. Not just the time, though 8 months felt like a lifetime now. She'd stolen my belief that I deserved to be loved. That someone could look at a 8-year-old divorced guy from Winnipeg and think, "Yes, him. He's the one I want." She'd made me believe I was worthy of love, then revealed it was all an act. a performance designed to extract maximum value from my loneliness. That might have been the cruelest part of all. It took me 3 months to delete the photos, 3 months of walking past my computer, thinking about opening that folder marked Filipina, and then walking away. What was I holding on to? What was I hoping to find in those images that I hadn't already lost? When I finally did it, on a cold Winnipeg morning in October, it was anticlimactic. Delete, delete, delete. 237 photos of a woman who had never existed, at least not in the way I'd believed. Gone in 10 minutes. But I kept one thing, a single screenshot of a message she'd sent me in those early days, when I still thought what we had was real. Roland, you healed something in me that I didn't even know was broken. Thank you for showing me what real love feels like. I kept it not because I believed it, but because I needed to remember how good it had felt to believe it, how powerful it was to think that I had that kind of impact on another person, that I could heal someone, that I could be someone's salvation. Maybe she had been broken in some way. Maybe there was a real person underneath all the performance, someone who'd started out genuinely looking for connection and had gotten lost in the easy money and endless lies. Or maybe that was just another story I was telling myself because accepting the complete emptiness of it all was too hard. The support group, as we'd started calling ourselves, continued to meet virtually once a week. Rick, James, David, Michael, and me. Sometimes others would join. We'd found Paul from New Zealand, who'd sent her $6,000 over 4 months. Gary from Houston, who'd been planning to divorce his wife and move to the Philippines to be with her. We weren't just comparing war stories anymore. We were trying to figure out how to rebuild our lives without the shame and bitterness consuming us. The hardest part, James said during one of our sessions, is not knowing what was real. Were there any genuine moments? Did she ever feel anything for any of us? Or was it all cold calculation? Does it matter? Rick asked. If you can't tell the difference between real affection and performed affection, what's the difference in terms of how it makes you feel? That question haunted me for weeks, because Rick was right. In a way, the feelings I'd had were real, even if they were based on false information. The hope, the joy, the sense of possibility, those had been genuine experiences, even if they were built on lies. But they were also fragile. Once you know that someone can fake love convincingly enough to fool you completely, how do you trust your own judgment again? How do you believe the next person who says they care about you? How do you distinguish between authentic affection and skilled manipulation? Sandy, my daughter, called me on a Sunday in November. We talked maybe once a month, usually about her job or her boyfriend or some family obligation. But this time, her voice was different, softer. Dad, I've been thinking about something. Remember a few months ago when you told me about that woman you were dating in the Philippines? And I said you should be careful? I remember. I'd been annoyed at the time, thought she was being judgmental and narrow-minded. I wasn't trying to be. Dad, I was scared for you. You seemed so hopeful, more hopeful than I'd seen you since Mom left. And I was afraid that if it went bad, it would break something in you that couldn't be fixed. It did go bad, Sandy, really bad. I figured. You stopped mentioning her. But Dad, here's the thing. The fact that you were hopeful, the fact that you put yourself out there, the fact that you believed in love again after what Mom put you through, that takes courage. Even if it didn't work out, I felt my throat tighten. I feel like an idiot, honey. Like a stupid, lonely old man who got played by someone half his age. You feel like someone who was brave enough to risk getting hurt for the chance of being happy. That's not stupid, Dad. That's human. We talked for an hour that day. Really talked, for the first time in years. About the divorce, about loneliness, about the difference between being alone and being lonely, about the courage required to keep hoping for connection even after you've been burned. Are you going to try again? She asked as we were finishing up. Dating? I don't know, I said honestly. Right now, The idea of trusting someone new feels impossible, but maybe that'll change. I hope it does. Not because you need someone else to be happy, but because you deserve to find real love. The actual thing, not the performance. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen looking out at the snow-covered street, thinking about courage and hope and the difference between being foolish and being human. Filipina had taught me something valuable, even if it wasn't what she'd intended to teach. She'd shown me that I still had the capacity to love deeply, that despite the divorce, despite the years of loneliness, despite being a 8-year-old guy with more gray hair than ambition, I could still fall completely, recklessly in love. That part of me wasn't broken, even if my judgment was questionable. She'd also shown me that I was willing to be generous, to put someone else's needs before my own, to build a future that included another person's dreams alongside mine. Those weren't character flaws, even if they'd been exploited. Those were the parts of myself I'd thought Linda had killed. The money would come back eventually. The house dream could be rebuilt with someone who actually wanted to share it. But the knowledge that I was still capable of love, still willing to be vulnerable, still brave enough to hope, that was mine to keep, regardless of how badly this particular story had ended. In December, Michael from our group chat sent an email that made us all laugh. "Gentlemen, I have an announcement. I've started dating again. A lovely widow from my church, 69 years old, lives 3 blocks away from me and has absolutely no interest in building a house in the Philippines. Her name is Margaret, and she's real in every way that matters. The heart, it turns out, is more resilient than we thought. Good for Michael, good for all of us, really. Because he was right about the heart being resilient. Stupid, maybe. Easily fooled, definitely. But resilient. I still live alone in my house on Portage Avenue. Still wake up to empty coffee cups and quiet mornings. Still have conversations with my reflection in the bathroom mirror. But it doesn't feel like a crime scene anymore. It feels like a life that's paused, not ended. A story that's between chapters, not finished. Somewhere in the Philippines, Filipina is probably running the same game on new victims, drawing the same house plans, making the same promises, collecting payments for the same dream she sells to anyone lonely enough to buy it. I don't hate her for it. I don't wish her harm. I just hope she's smart enough to save some of that money for when she gets too old to play the part anymore. Because eventually, we all get too old to play the part. Eventually, we all have to figure out who we actually are when nobody's watching, when nobody's paying, when nobody's buying the dream we're selling. I hope I'm someone worth knowing. I think I am. Filipina thought so too. Once upon a time, even if it was just for money, that's got to count for something. The photos are gone, but the lessons remain. Love is risky. Hope is expensive. Trust is fragile. But none of those things mean we should stop trying. They just mean we should try more carefully next time. If there is a next time. And I think, maybe, there might be. Margaret sounds nice. Maybe I'll ask Sandy for her number.